Hello, I'm Christina. Thank you for being here. Today we're going to talk about the 8 steps it takes to help children with their big emotions. So if you're here, I'm assuming you have a child that either has anger outbursts or is highly anxious or possibly just super sensitive. And if that is you, then I am so glad you're here because I am going to be able to give you the 8 steps that I teach in my own platform that allows you to start seeing change and behaviors in your kids. It's amazing. I'm so excited that you're here. Before I get to that, I want to tell you why I created the program. So for those of you who don't know me, I am Christina Campos. I'm the owner and founder of The Impactful Parent, and I have been teaching children for over 20 years. Most of my education is most of my professional career has been in gifted education, which has highly sensitive children. And so I wanted to figure out how to help these super sensitive kids. As my own kids grew and matured, I found myself as a mother of 4 that a few of my children had very high sensitivities themselves. I had one child who was really starting to struggle with anger management and another who was highly anxious. So I know exactly where you're coming from. And why I built this program is really to help you and help your children so much. I understand what it's like to have sleepless nights. I understand what it's like to have the phone ring and be terrified that it's the school again. I understand what it's like just to feel helpless and powerless and want to help your kid and watch them have an anxiety attack or an anger outburst and have no idea how to fix it and what to do. So all of that prompted this, and where I really began to interview psychologists and counselors and read books and take classes at Children's Hospital and do everything I possibly can to educate myself on how to do this. And once you find the secret sauce formula, how to help children control their big emotions, I am not the type of person to take that formula and hide it away and only keep it to myself. I really wanted to share it to the world, and that's my purpose in life. That's why I'm here, why I'm so happy that you're here watching this video. So thank you so much. Again, by the end of this video today, I am going to give you 8 steps that are going to help you with changing your child's behavior. It's how I walk through the program. It is the framework of everything I choose. And even if you choose not to do the next step after that, which is to take the program, I hope that you can get a lot out of the 8 steps that I use so that you know the steps that you need to take in order to really help your child. And just for watching today, because I really respect your time and I want to thank you for being here, I'm going to go ahead and get you started with a absolutely free PDF, and it's going to help you get started in teaching your children how to control their big emotions. I'm so excited. First of all, a little bit about my journey. I want you to know again where I'm coming from so that you understand why I not only made this program, but why I'm going to be teaching you these things today. I want to talk about my own children, my anger kid. My anger kid, it was really scary. And if you have an anger child, then you understand exactly what I'm talking about. The outburst would come out of nowhere. He'd have a big episode, and then I'd ask him, "What? Why did you do that?" And he would look at me and say, "I don't know." And I thought that was very interesting. He could not tell me why he acted the way he acted, but he could tell me how he felt. And that was really interesting to me. He also then became impulsive. And once your child goes from anger to anger and impulsive, and then it becomes even more scary because now you could put yourself into danger, and he starts becoming a child that you're just like, wait a second, who are you right now? This isn't you. And if you have that kind of kid, I hope you can identify with me because that's when it really woke me up into trying to figure out how to help him. My anxious child was equally as scary, equally as many sleepless nights, but the situation was completely different, right? My anxious child was hiding away from everything. They were avoiding people, avoiding situations, avoiding experiences, avoiding life. And it came to the point where I was like, wait a second, this is the best part of your life. You are a young person who should be enjoying things, and instead you're missing out on your best experiences. It was heartbreaking. And again, woke me up to I need to help my kids. So that's when I kickstarted into learning everything I possibly could that I'm going to give you the framework for today, because you might be thinking, oh, my kids, I know they're having anger issues, but this is probably just a phase. I'm telling you, it's probably not just a phase. Think about other habits that you start to develop. You start to have behaviors that you repeat over and over and over again. And when you do that, you're creating a habit. And right now, your children or child could be creating a habit that is not serving them, which could be throwing things when they're angry. It could be hiding away when they're anxious. It could be crying at a drop of a hat when they're super sensitive. But the more that they continue to do that without you helping them, they begin to internalize those feelings, and they start to believe that that's who they are. And that is not who they are. We know that. They're not an angry kid. They're not an anxious kid. Those are results of other feelings happening, and we need to help them. If you don't help, they can also start to miss out on things, miss out on life, get labeled at school as being that angry kid, or the kid that's hiding away all the time, the kid that cries. They could be putting themselves into danger because they're becoming impulsive, and they'll be getting in trouble at school. None of the things that we want our kids to internalize, and we don't want them to feel like that. One of the mistakes that I see parents make the most is they think that, well, they're using the wrong disciplining techniques. I'm just going to try this, I'm going to try that, but what they're trying is taking away electronics, grounding their child, spanking, yelling louder. None of that's going to work. And I'm telling you this because, again, I know I've been there. None of that is going to work. In fact, all of that is going to be detrimental to your relationship. The more you do those things, the more your relationship will start to fall apart. You'll cause a rift. And that's exactly what I know you do not want to happen. So with this program and with these 8 steps that I'm about to get into, it is a program that you do with your child. You do it together to strengthen bonds, to help your child, to create that connection so that you're learning it together. And it's very, very special. Your child will thank you for it. Now, the last thing I want to say before I give you these 8 steps is, if you are expecting some kind of miracle pill for this, then I'm so sorry. This is not the place for you. There is no miracle pill. And any professional that tells you that all you have to do is this or all you have to do is that is lying to you. In my opinion, I don't think that's possible. Behaviors take time to change. Behaviors take effort to change. Think about biting your nails again. It takes an effort to change such a simple little habit. Behaviors are even bigger. It is not going to be an easy road, but I promise you, it is a road worth taking. It is so rewarding. Your children do not want to feel this way. They do not want to be anxious and scared and angry all the time or super sensitive about everything. They want your help. They may just not know how to ask and not know how to act any other way. All right, let's get into the program. Here we go. Step 1. Step 1 is you need to figure out, what emotion am I dealing with? Okay, now you're probably asking, Christina, this is so obvious. The kid's mad at me. The kid's super anxious. But I'm telling you, it's actually not that obvious. So a lot of psychologists like to use the picture of the iceberg. And at the iceberg, you see the tip of the iceberg, what's above the water. And that is the anger, the anxiety, or the super sensitivities. But underneath the water, there's this whole slew of other emotions. And that's what you need to figure out. Which emotions are you really dealing with? Because it is not just one emotion. It is likely 3, 4, 5 emotions that are super big, and more than that, but some really major emotions there. Fear is a likelihood of one of those emotions, but there'll be several others, and you need to figure out what are those emotions. So step 1 in the program is I take you through how to discover those emotions, how to figure out what those emotions are, because we need to know what we're dealing with. It is not just the anger. It is not just the anxiety. It is not just the super sensitivities. Step number 2 is we have to learn how to identify triggers. Now, triggers are things that happen to your child that automatically agitate them so that they get angry, they get anxious, or they get sensitive. In order to figure out triggers, I take you through the program to figure that out. But with understanding and figuring what they are, it's not really to avoid those situations. I want to clarify that. It's not to say, oh, I know now that every time there's, we go to this particular location, it's going to set them off. Yes, that's a trigger. The location might be setting them off into an outburst, but it's not to avoid that situation. It is, however, to learn how to deal with that trigger in a healthy and productive way. So again, it starts with the foundation of what are we dealing with? What are the triggers we need to know? Okay, so that's step 2. Step 3. Step 3 is you have to teach your child how to act instead. Let me explain. Okay, so sometimes children act in a certain way because they don't know how to act any other way. Yeah. So you can't just take a habit and say, don't do that, like with biting your nails. Don't bite your nails. It's much easier to say, no, don't do that, when you can replace the behavior with a more acceptable behavior that you do want to see. So again, a lot of parents make that mistake of saying, don't cry, or don't get mad, or don't throw things, or don't go hide, but then they don't tell them what to do. And for us as parents, it feels like they should know. It's so obvious. I'm telling you, it's not obvious. They need to know. And so step 3 of the program is teaching your child how to act a different way and showing you how to do that as parents, how to be their guide. So you want to replace the behavior with a more exceptional option. Step number 4. Step number 4 of the program is coping skills. You have to teach your child different kinds of coping skills. Right now, if you have an anxious child, their coping skill is likely hiding. That's how they cope. Your anger child, their coping skill might be yelling or throwing things or being mean to others instead. That could be their coping skill. We want to take away those coping skills, obviously, that are very unhealthy and replace them with good coping skills. And a mistake that a lot of parents make with this particular step 4, is they teach their child 1 or 2 coping skills that are great for use at home. But that doesn't work at the grocery store. It doesn't work when they're at school. You actually have to give your child a variety of different coping skills and teach them all different kinds. So this is where, if you're even with me right now and still watching, I want to give you a free PDF to get you started after this video. Whether you take the more comprehensive program that's going to help you teach your child how to do coping skills and how to implement them and how to find out which ones that actually work for them. Aside from that, I'm going to give you a free PDF today that's called 20 Ways to Cope. And this is going to give you a jumpstart at the end of today. You can start right now teaching your child different kinds of coping skills that work at home, at school, at the grocery store, at grandma's house, wherever you need. And they will likely need a toolbox of coping skills in order to be successful, not just one thing. But this is going to give you a variety of different ideas of what to teach your child. It's really exciting. Yay! Okay, let's go to step 5. Step 5 of the program is teaching your child how to connect their thoughts and their feelings with their actions. Okay, so if you've ever had a child that does something, crazy outburst, and you ask them, why did you do that? And they say, I don't know. Yeah, that happened to my child. So he did not know how to connect his thoughts and his feelings and his actions together. And children won't change their behaviors until they understand the feeling that made them act that way. This is very important. So I'm going to give you another example of how this works so that even if you don't take the program today, which I really hope you do, but even if you don't, it gives you an idea of where I'm coming with this particular step 5, to help your child. And in my program, we will go into more depth on how to teach this. But let's say you have a high schooler, and your high schooler, you've been keeping track of their triggers, and you figured out that every time they have a presentation at school, that they're getting sick and they want to not go to school that day and they have a huge tummy ache. Okay, so they have a presentation. That's the trigger. It's making them sick, and you're like, wait a second, I need to figure out why they're hiding, why they're avoiding. Okay, the fear is likely their emotion in part of this. The fear is. Now, is it fear of failing? Is it fear of others talking badly about them? Is it fear of just getting up in front of people? Maybe it's all of those, maybe it's a few. But that's you as a parent trying to figure that out. But the emotion itself is fear. Then the thought process is probably, I'm going to fail, or they're going to think I'm dumb. There's your thought process. And so now we need to connect those, okay? They're thinking something, I'm going to fail, which is causing their emotion of, oh, now I'm scared because I think I'm going to fail. And in turn, their action, and also pointing down to my stomach, even though you can't see me, pointing down to my stomach, is making them feel ill. So their thoughts are affecting their emotions, which is then affecting their actions. So we teach this in the program, how to connect these dots to our children. And then the next step after that, after they know that all these things are completely interconnected, is step 6. Step 6, teaching them about thinking traps. Thinking traps are those ways of thinking where we get so emotional, we start to interpret our world and think thoughts in our head that are unrealistic, unproductive, unhelpful, and they trigger all those anxiety, that fear, that sensitivity that the kids have. And they start to become a broken record inside of your brain. We all do this. You probably can identify with some thinking traps. If you hear yourself saying, or your child saying, oh, I can't do that, or I'm going to fail, I just know it, or I know they don't like me. All of those are thinking traps, and they're not useful. So step 6 of the program is me teaching you how to identify thinking traps. And then not only to identify them, but now we have to take those thinking traps and start to teach our child how to think in a different way. Again, this is not easy, but I promise you, it is an effort worth taking. But yeah, you're going to have to start changing their thoughts. Changing someone how they think is not an easy process, but it's essential, because once you can see that how I'm thinking is affecting how I'm feeling, and then in turn affecting how I'm acting, if we can change our thoughts, then we start to break that cycle. And then we start seeing change. Super exciting. All right, so that's step 6 of the program. Step 7. Step 7 of the program is really a self-reflection on us, the parents. And honestly, it's probably one of the more difficult parts of the program, because I'm going to really push you to looking at your own parenting techniques, your own self, and see, what am I doing that is contributing to this big emotion? What am I doing that's contributing to the issues? And we all, the most impactful parents, the most wonderful parents, make mistakes. We are huge influencers in our child's lives, whether or not we want to or not be, we are. Even if you have a teenager which is developmentally appropriately trying to break away and kind of keep you at a distance, they are still watching, they are still looking at what you're doing. And having that self-reflection is super important. We are likely contributing even just a little bit to the issue. And even if we're not, then awesome, wonderful, that's good for you. But taking that step of self-reflection and saying, what can I do to change so I can be a better parent to my child, is amazing role modeling for our children. Your teenagers will see that, I promise. And it's actually very beautiful. So I hope that you understand. I will be pushing you to do that. You're taking a program, but it's an amazing step. And step 8 of our program is practice. Practice, 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 practice. I'm a teacher at heart, you guys. I have been teaching for over 20 years. And with every lesson that you give a student, you must give them the opportunity to practice and practice and practice. None of this is going to come easy. You can't just teach your child how to do a coping skill and then not have them practice the coping skill. You can't have them You can't teach them how to connect their thoughts and their feelings and their actions all together and not give them the opportunity to practice connecting and connecting. It is with the practice that you will see transformation. It is with the practice that you see change. And that is when the most exciting part of the program begins, because I know you really start seeing your children really own their emotions and take back control of themselves. And suddenly the house is more peaceful and the phone calls begin to cease and the compliments come back into your world. And it's so super exciting. So anyway, that is my 8 steps. I will definitely be sure to send you the 20 ways to cope free PDF just to get started today. I really hope that you take a look at the program more closely, see if it's a good fit for you. If you would like to join the program, please go ahead and if you have any questions, you can email me at theimpactfulparent@gmail.com. Ask me any question you want. I'll try to answer your questions. And that's it. I hope that you join us. So we're going to get started on a new group very shortly. And I hope that you become a part of the Impactful Parent community. I hope that you decide to take that extra step to help your child and become a more impactful parent.